Alberta has earned more than $445 billion from its oil and gas resources since the 1970s. Yet today, Alberta's savings, what's left in the Alberta Heritage Trust Fund, amounts to just $25 billion. That's not even enough to cover half of Alberta's current net debt. The Alberta Heritage Trust Fund was created in 1976 by Premier Peter Lougheed and his progressive conservative government. His vision? Save a portion of resource wealth for future generations. In its first year, 30% of all resource royalties, about $620 million, was saved. Money that helped build hospitals, roads, universities, and even funded loans to other provinces. The plan was smart and responsible. But in the mid-1980s, oil prices crashed. By 1987, Premier Don Getty stopped making deposits. Between 1987 and the early 1990s, billions in Heritage Fund earnings, averaging around $600 million per year, were redirected to cover growing deficits and sustain public services, instead of being reinvested or saved. In the 1990s, Premier Ralph Klein shifted strategy. His government sold Alberta-based investments and focused only on market returns, making the Heritage Trust Fund more like a regular investment account. This ended the fund's original role in diversifying Alberta's economy. In 2004, under Premier Ralph Klein's progressive conservative government, approximately $1.4 billion from the Heritage Fund was withdrawn to help balance the budget, even when oil prices were high. Why? Because there were no rules requiring the government to keep saving. Had Alberta saved just 25% of its resource revenue, experts say the fund could now be worth hundreds of billions of dollars. Alberta wasn't the only oil-rich region aiming to turn short-term resource income into long-term prosperity. But other governments took a different direction. In 2024, Norway's sovereign wealth fund topped $1.7 trillion. Their strategy? Save all oil revenues and only spend the investment earnings. Alaska's fund reached $108 billion, backed by strict legal rules, and every year, Alaskans receive a dividend payout averaging around $1,350 to $2,700 per resident annually. Now, compare that to Alberta. The Heritage Trust Fund currently sits at $25 billion with no mandatory savings and no annual citizen benefit. The difference? Clear legal protections, long-term strategy, and disciplined savings. In 2024, legislation was passed to stop automatic withdrawals that started in the early 1980s, and a new corporation was created to manage investments. The goal now is to grow the fund to $250 billion by 2050. It's a step in the right direction, but it's still missing the most important piece: mandatory savings laws. Unless deposits are required by law, the same mistakes will continue. Oversight still remains limited, and inflation-proofing mechanisms are weak. The fund also hasn't significantly supported diversification since the 1990s, when Alberta sold off many domestic investments. It now operates like a passive investor, not a driver of innovation. Since its creation, the Heritage Trust Fund has often been used as a political tool, raided during elections, sidelined in boom years, underused in busts. While premiers have changed, this short-term thinking has remained consistent and costly. That's not what it was built for. And despite all the talk of fiscal responsibility by Alberta's current and past governments, the province continues to borrow, even in good years. The challenge isn't just financial, it's political. In a province increasingly divided, building consensus around long-term savings has become harder, even as the need for it grows clearer. The Heritage Trust Fund was created with the best of intentions, and it still holds potential. But for Alberta to truly benefit from its resource wealth, it needs mandatory savings rules, transparent public oversight, inflation protection, and a long-term savings plan that can't be undone by political decisions. Alberta's future depends on responsible choices. This is a chance to learn from the past, and maybe eventually Alberta will get the future security that Albertans were promised back in the 1970s. Like, share, and subscribe for more fact-based breakdowns of Alberta's economy and politics.